All right, people, party people, we're back. We're here to talk about the full moon that's happening June 3rd in the sign of Sagittarius.
Or
That's
for us
Sag.
Vedic ladies, it's Scorpio. But we're going to actually talk about how there's a lot of overlap.
Yeah. So for anyone who might not know, Sophie is a Vedic astrologer, but she also speaks Western. And so sometimes in Vedic astrology, the signs are different than in Western, right? So there's still a full moon happening, but according to Vedic, it's in Scorpio. But according to Western, it's in Sagittarius. And, again, we're going to kind of dive into why it still has the same themes. Um, but yeah, just wanted to clear that up. So do you want to talk kind of about that, Sophie, about how
Yeah.
the Vedic is Scorpio, but actually it's the nakshatra that's different?
Yeah. The
Yeah.
nakshatra, which is the lunar mansion. And so I was talking to you before about this, about how I actually really like focusing on the lunar mansion more than the sign, because the lunar mansion really gives you more specific details about the flavoring of the
Mm,
moon. So this one is in Jassia, which is actually all about discovery of the truth. And it's a more like friendly, fun, kind of cheerful lunar mansion. It still has that intense depth of that Scorpio flavoring. And so this is actually the last lunar mansion of when we move from Scorpio into Sagittarius energy. And Sagittarius energy, as we were talking, is really all about discovery, learning. It's a very optimistic kind of energy. So
mhm.
that's kind of where I actually see that overlap of the themes coming into play. And it's really all about the main takeaway because, at the end of the day, it's like all rivers lead to the same ocean. So it's like, what's the bottom line message?
Yeah, exactly. And also, can you kind of just really quickly explain what a lunar mansion is for people who might not know? And this is a Vedic term, by the way.
Yeah, so the lunar mansions are essentially specific constellations in the sky. It's almost like if you divided up the zodiac into more specific cuts of degrees, it's like it's taking it like a notch of a detail further. And so
Mhm.
within each sign, you have all these different lunar constellations, lunar mansions that give you even more in depth insight into the traits, qualities, and characteristics of that. So I love following the full moon, new moon cycles with looking at the lunar mansions because it gives you more specific themes and takeaways. And this
Mm.
one is in Justia, which is literally, I think it actually translates to the oldest. So it's all about like wisdom, which is actually a very Sagittarius kind of
Very
quality.
Sag.
Yeah. And so there
Yeah.
happens to be a lot of overlap that I do see. And, it's a more cheerful kind of flavoring of Scorpio, but Scorpio is really all about depth and like depth and discovery. But like it kind of gets a bad reputation of like dark and mysterious and not the depth of discovery that like Sagittarius energy has. So it does have this flavoring of what in Western astrology we kind of think of as this like the friendly, optimistic kind of energy that we see.
Mm. Yeah. And I have to say, like, we're just a few days out from the full moon now when we're
Mm-hmm.
recording this. And it feels pretty good to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know a lot of times when there's a full moon coming, people get like really emotional, emotions
Mm-hmm.
are heightened. Like, it can just feel like kind of a time of turmoil. But I've been
Mm-hmm.
feeling like really optimistic and hopeful, which is also like very, very Sag. And, the Sag themes for this full moon, I'd say, from like a Western standpoint, are, themes of growth and expansion,
Mm-hmm.
truth, wisdom, and exploration, because that's really what Sag is all about. It's really like the philosopher of the zodiac when it's in its highest form, right? Like when it's in its light versus its shadow. Its shadow is a little bit more fuck around to find out, as we say. Um,
Is
but
that
yeah,
bad? Is
I'm
that a bad thing?
well, it depends on the fucking around that you're doing and,
That's true.
and what kind of finding
Finding
out you're
out.
doing too. Yeah. What's the finding out that we're getting here? Um, but yeah, I think again, like this is a time to kind of like it almost feels like celebration, which is funny because full moons are really time of like completion and
Mm-hmm.
endings and whatnot. But when it's when it's in this sign, it just kind of feels like a time for celebration. Like I was just telling Sophie the other day that I usually do not manifest with full moons, but I think actually with this one, I was going to maybe do a little manifestation. It is in my seventh house. What's up?
Woohoo.
Yeah. What
Yeah.
house is it in for you, Sophie?
I believe it's in my fourth. So
Oh,
all about
oh, that
home and
makes sense.
grounding. Yeah, because I'm like
Yeah.
moving around a lot. I'm trying to evaluate like where should I live? Where should I live? But and we were just talking also, you're saying that like, oh, it's going to be trining Mars. So right before it hits
Mm.
its peak, it does trine Mars, which gives kind of that extra
Boost of
energy.
energy. Yeah.
Yeah, which I can totally feel and see. Um, and it's interesting because right before it trines Mars, it actually squares Saturn. And like
Oof.
I think we were talking about how
Oh.
squares are actually really all about growth. And so you
But
might
usually it's growth through discomfort, just FYI for
totally,
anyone out there.
yeah.
Squares can be just like, I always see squares as kind of like a four energy in numerology. It's that number of like
Hmm.
breakthrough, but how do we get to the breakthrough? Usually through a breakdown. You know what
Hmm.
I'm saying? Like it always
Yeah.
kind of, that's what square energy feels. It's just kind of like sticky and you
Hmm.
got to push to kind of make it happen. But then once you make it happen, it's kind of like, oh, that feels so satisfying,
Yeah.
right?
Like that breakthrough that really comes through.
Hmm.
Yeah, for sure. But I definitely agree with you that this energy around this full moon, especially because we've been doing so much heavy lifting and work in like the first half of the year. And I
Oh,
feel like
yeah.
June in general is like so much of a more refreshing energy, especially we have the solstice coming up. But this full moon to me also feels like it's a time for celebrating a little bit of the growth we all have done. And so
Mm.
definitely taking time to reflect and celebrate that, but also like dive even deeper into the work that you have been doing to like give yourself a little pat on the back is totally, in my opinion, worthwhile.
Yeah. I mean, we are at the halfway point in the year. So
Hmm.
it is actually a really good time just to kind of look back and be like, okay, where am I at right now? Where am I going? How am I tapped into, the themes of your personal year cycle or whatever it is that you're
Hmm.
working on this year? Sophie and I are both in a personal year 9. So it's been a lot. Okay. A lot, a lot. Um, but yeah, I mean, I feel like you're totally right. It's like starting to like, okay, where are we at? Where are we going? Time to kind of celebrate ourselves, celebrate our wins so far for the year, and maybe even
Hmm.
chart out some wins that we want to have, right?
Hmm.
And also, as with all full moons, as full moons do represent times of completion, it's
Hmm.
important or could be really beneficial for you to look back 6 months to the new moon in Sag and see what were you doing around that date and like what seeds did you kind of plant, what was going
Hmm.
on that may be coming to an end. And I believe the Sag new moon was sometime in December of 2022.
Yeah, I
So,
have to look that up and confirm that.
yeah, I don't have the
I don't have that
exact
on the top of my head, but
yeah, I don't
uh,
have the exact date off the top of my head. I can go Google it right now, but I always love to do that. It's always surprising
mhm,
when you look back, you're like, oh my God, that was when I started talking to this person about this situation, or like the last time we had a full moon, it coincided with the ending of a business partnership I had going that
mhm.
started during the new moon. It was very, very interesting.
Yeah. And I mean, like you said, themes of full moons really do have, it's all about letting go. It's all about healing. And I feel like Sag energy is also a little bit about forgiveness. Like these are themes that
Mm,
come up because it's really like, you think about Sag as like the philosopher, and like the philosopher is not going to be like holding a grudge like Scorpio. Which I
yeah,
find
true.
like kind of ironic of the
Hmm.
the conflicting Vedic versus Western. But I think even the specific nakshatra that this is in, it really is all about like letting go and like forgiveness and like moving forward into transforming your discovery into like growth. And so if you've been holding on to something that you do need to let go, like the full moon is the time to like release that because
Mm.
there's so much ahead of us. I mean, like we still have the whole half of the year left. And I think that this is kind of the perfect time to really like start, cleaning up those things that maybe we have been holding on to. And like forgive yourself, forgive whoever that you need to forgive and move forward.
That's such a powerful message. Did you say that because of me?
No,
I'm like,
I was literally thinking about Sag and like I feel
yeah,
like Sag gets like I said, Sag sometimes gets a bad reputation because it's very like fuck
yes,
around, find out. But like forgiveness is a beautiful part of like Sag energy. And like I don't know. I mean, I have a lot of Sag friends in my life, and like I will say that like they kind of tend to like let things go pretty easily. Not like
yeah,
myself, but like, you know? So
yeah.
yeah.
I think I let things go easily, but I've definitely been doing a lot of like inner work on myself. I know you
Hmm.
have too,
Yeah.
year 9. And I've realized like the person I need to forgive is myself. And it
Hmm.
always comes back to that, right? It's always
Yeah.
like you think you're upset with someone, but really it's you. It's
Yeah.
you, right? Like it's us that needs to kind of like grapple with um our own emotions and our own behaviors. Um I do also want to say that Sag is also like known for freedom and independence. And so this might be a time where you're feeling extra in that energy of like, I just want to be free. I
Mhm.
want to like take a vacation, or you might be feeling some wanderlust or
Mhm.
free from whatever is maybe feeling oppressive. Like
Mhm.
maybe if you're stuck in a job you don't like, you might really be feeling like, man, I got to get the hell out of this.
Yeah.
Um, and just like really standing in your own power and really being, coming from a place of like your own philosophy, right?
Mhm.
Because Sag is also about getting into a space of what's your personal philosophy on life. But ultimately, I would say like the advice that I recommend to everyone is to release what you don't want. So let's
Mhm.
say there's like an ego situation coming up. You're like, I don't really want to carry this with me
Mhm.
anymore. Or the forgiveness piece that you were just saying, like,
Yeah.
let that shit go and then celebrate. I would say
Mhm.
let go and celebrate. Let
Yeah.
go and have fun. Let's fun is the advice I would say. And also, I do want to just point out from what we were speaking about earlier, the new moon in Sagittarius was November 23rd, 2022. So definitely go back and see if there was
Mhm.
anything you started around then that you are now wrapping up. There are probably something. Usually there's
Mhm.
something. I got to go back and chart it myself. I'm sure you probably have to too.
Yeah, for sure. And when you're talking about forgiveness and forgiving yourself, I actually thought about the beautiful Hawaiian prayer meditation that you have.
Oh, yeah,
And I
everyone go
definitely
check that out.
no, seriously, because I think that
Yeah.
a lot of times we talk about like manifest, 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 but like this like forgiveness meditation is actually a great thing to do for this full moon
Mm,
because it's really all about completion and like that's what full moons are. And so definitely like check that out, guys. Like I love a
yeah.
good Hawaiian meditation. And
I'll drop it in the
Kaerhart,
caption of this
yeah,
video
Kaerhart
too.
has an amazing one that like I personally will recommend and do myself. So
Mhm.
I just thought of that as like what's a good thing someone can do to like activate that kind of energy for this full moon. So that would be my recommendation.
Yeah. So, Hawaiian prayer of forgiveness,
Mhm.
let go, and have some fun.
Fun. Yep.
Yeah, I would say that's the bottom line for this full moon energy. And, let us know how you're feeling in the comments. Let us know where you're at, what house it's in for you.
Mhm.
And happy full moon, everybody.
Yeah, happy full moon.